Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Part 1. The Tributes. Chapter 1. When I wake, the other side of the bed is cold. My fingers stretch out, seeking Prim's warmth, but finding only the rough canvas covers of the mattress. She must have had bad dreams and climbed out in with our mother. Of course she did. This is the reaping day. I prop myself on one elbow. There's enough light in the bedroom to see them. My little sister Prim curled up on the side, cocooned in my mother's body, their cheeks pressed together in sleep. My mother looks younger, still worn, but not so beaten down. Prim's face is fresh as a raindrop, as lovely as a primrose for which she was named. My mother was very beautiful once too, or so they tell me. Sitting at Prim's knees, guarding her, is the world's ugliest cat, mashed in nose, half of one ear missing, eyes the color of rotting squash. Prim named him Buttercup, insisting that his muddy yellow coat matched the bright flower. He hates me, or at least disrupts me. Even though it was years ago, I think he still remembers how I tried to drown him in a bucket when Prim brought him home, scrawny kitten, belly swollen with worms, crawling with fleas. At the last thing I needed was another mouth to feed. But Prim begged so hard, cried even, I had to let him stay. It turned out okay. My mother got rid of the venom, and he's a born mouser. He even catches an occasional rat. Sometimes when I clean a kill, I feed Buttercup the internals. He has stopped hissing at me enough to internals, no hissing. This is the closest we'll ever come to love. I swing my legs off the bed and the side of and slid into my hunting boots, supply leather that has molded to my feet. I pull on trousers, a shirt, tuck my long dark braid up into a cap, and grab my forage bag. On the table under a wooden bowl to protect the hungry rats and cats alike sits a perfect little goat cheese wrapped in basil leaves. Prim's gift to me on reaping day. I put the cheese carefully in my pocket and I slip outside. Our part of District 12, nicknamed the Sim, is usually crawling with coal miners heading out to the morning shift at this hour. Men and women with hunched shoulders, swollen knuckles, so many who have long since stopped trying to scrub the coal dust out of their broken nails, the lines of their sunken faces. But today, the black cinder streets are empty. Shutters are squat. Gray houses are closed. The reaping isn't until 2. May as well sleep in it if you can. Our house is almost at the edge of seam. I only have to pass a few gates to reach the scruffy field called the meadow. Separating the meadow from the woods, in fact, enclosing all of District 12, is a high chain link fence topped with barbed wire loops. In theory, it's supposed to be electrified 24 hours a day as a deterrent to predators that live in the woods. Pack of wild dogs, lone cougars, bears who threaten our streets. But since we're lucky to get 2 or 3 hours of electricity in the evening, it's usually safe to touch. Even so, I always take a moment to listen carefully for a hum that means the fence is live. Right now it's silent as a stone concealed by the clump of bushes. I flatten out my belly and slide under a 2-foot stretch that's been loosened for years. There are several other weak spots in the fence, but this one is so close to home. I almost always enter the woods here. As soon as I'm in the trees, I retrieve my bow and sheath of arrows from a hollow log. Electrified or not, the fence has been successful at keeping flesh eaters out of District 12. Inside the woods, they roam freely, and there are added councils of venomous snakes, rabid animals, and no real paths to follow. But there's also food, if you know how to find it. My father knew. He taught me some before he was blown to bits in the mine explosion. There was nothing to bury. I was 11 then. 5 years later, I still wake up screaming for him to run. Even though trespassing in the woods is illegal and poaching carries the service of pencils, more people would risk it if they had weapons, but most are not bold enough to venture out with just a knife. My bow is crafted by my father along with a few others that I keep well hidden in the woods, carefully wrapped in waterproof covers. My father could have made good money selling them, but if the officials found out, he would have been publicly executed for inching a revelation. Most of the peacekeepers turn a blind eye to few of us who hunt because they're as hungry for fresh meat as anyone is. In fact, they're amongst our best customers. But the idea that someone might be arming Sim would never be allowed. In the fall, a few brave souls sneak into the woods to harvest apples, but always in sight of the meadow, always close enough to run back to safety from District 12 if trouble sirens. District 12, where you can starve to death in safety, I mutter. Then I glance quickly over my shoulder. Even here, in the middle of nowhere, you worry someone might overhear you. When I was younger, I scared my mother to death with the things I would blurt out about District 12, about the people who rule the country. Our country, pay 'em. From the far-off city called the capital. Eventually I understood this would only lead us to more trouble, so I learned to hold my tongue and turn my features into a indifferent mask so that no one could ever read my thoughts. Do my work quietly in school, make only polite small talk in public market, discuss little more than trades in the hob, which is the black market where I make the most of my money. Even at home, where I am less pleasant, I avoid discussing tricky topics like the reaping or food shortages or the Hunger Games. Prim might begin to repeat my words, and then where would we be? In the woods waits the only person who I can be myself around, Gil. I feel the muscles in my face relaxing. My pace quickens as I climb the hills to our place. A rock ledge overlooking a valley, a thicket of berry bushes protects from unwanted eyes. The sight of him waiting there brings on a smile. Gil says I never smile except in the woods.